Hello. Today I want to ask a simple question. There have been attacks upon the wife of the Chancellor of the Exchequer of Britain. Are these attacks racist? It's a fact that the woman is an Indian national, she has brown skin. But that doesn't mean that when her sincerity, her integrity, when it is impugned, when it is attacked, it doesn't mean that that is racism. The question is, did she do something wrong? Is it right for people to point out her hypocrisy or to say that she has lied? This is the question. The second point has to do with misogyny. And again, just because she's a woman doesn't mean that attacks on her integrity, the suggestion that she has done something wrong, something underhand, that's not automatically misogynist. She may really have done something wrong. And the suggestion, the aspersions cast upon her may be legitimate. Let us now look at the Guardian newspaper's reportage. Guardian newspaper, it's well respected. This is not a racist tabloid. It's not some sort of a redneck or something aimed at the lowest common denominator. And I would like to read out what they have said. Murthy's, that is the name of the father of the wife of the lady in question. Murthy's spokeswoman suggested that because Murthy was an Indian citizen, she could not also hold UK citizenship, which is true, and therefore must be treated as a non-dom for UK tax. Now, that's it's obviously untrue that a person who comes to this country, they can certainly say to the they can ask the Treasury, they can ask the Inland Revenue to be treated as a cat belonging to the Queen, which wants to give them all their money. They can do so. It would be rejected because it is not a reasonable thing to do. Now, on the assumption that Mrs. Shonak, on the assumption that that she has brains, on the assumption that she has a fiduciary duty to her own putative children, to her own blood relatives, that she has a fiduciary duty arising out of her own attachment to her family, to her oikos, to her country. Assuming all these things, she has an obligation, because of a prior fiduciary duty, she has an obligation to act in a rational manner and to minimize her tax liability, because that is what anybody with a fiduciary duty, that is their obligation. If the accountant or the solicitor managing a discretionary trust or managing the assets of a Hindu undivided family, and remember that in this case, there is, in Indian law, she can be, Askhsata Murthy can be the karta of an HUF, which is exactly like a discretionary trust. So, and if so, then there is a fiduciary duty which, taken together with her Indian citizenship and nationality, taken together with the fact that she is a Hindu, it follows that she has obligations. It is true, she can repudiate those obligations. She can say, I don't want to be an Indian citizen, I hate India. She could say that, but she hasn't said that, and she is not obliged to. She could say, I wish, like a Victorian wife prior to the 1870 law and the 1882 law, which gave married women control over their own assets, I want to be like that wife in David Copperfield. David Copperfield's mother, she marries, a horrible guy, and she's powerless because she, by the Victorian convention, she had to surrender all her assets to her husband. Now, what the Guardian is doing is it's saying that Askhsata Murthy, that she did something wrong, because instead of handing over money, not to India, which is where she comes from, she's an Indian national, she says that she should be handing over money to Britain, a country which ruled over India, which was brutal in its racialism. She should just hand over money to Britain. Why? Because she fell in love with, and she came to England to be with a man she loved. She has married Dishi Rishi. But is Dishi Rishi supposed to wiggle his slender butt and bring in billionaires into this country who must pay money into the British Exchequer regardless of the fact that they come from India? Is this the case? This is racism and misogyny gone mad. I think people at The Guardian, mesmerized by Rishi Dishi's slender haunches, that they are blaming Rishi Dishi and they are blaming his wife, saying, he brought you here, now hand over all your damn money to the Exchequer, you stupid brown woman. Well, you're not stupid, well, obviously, but, isn't it a bit stupid not to hand over all your money? Because, let's face it, he's a bit brown in it. He's actually quite brown. And maybe if you hand over all that money, it'll be less brown. Maybe you'll become a man. You could grow a penis. I don't know what the reasoning behind The Guardian is. I don't think there is any reasoning. I think they just write any shit that comes into their heads. But the fact is, they quote several leading international tax experts have disputed this. What have they disputed? They have disputed the fact that a rational person always elects for what is suitable for themselves, what is best in their own interests, what discharges and what is compatible with the discharge of their own fiduciary duty and obligation. And in the case of this particular law, in 2017, you had a Chancellor, George Osborne. He clarified matters, he created a couple of different doors, but prior to that, of course, there could have been a question, but we're speaking of events after that. So it is an extraordinary piece of racism and misogyny. 19th century, not 1870, early, much before that, David Copperfield, 1830s, 1840s. It's that sort of misogyny and racism that we have on display here. Richard Murphy, a professor of accounting at Sheffield University, says domicile has nothing to do with a person's nationality. Yes, of course it does, you stupid cunt. That's the reason why a lot of Indian people who have Indian nationality are not domiciled here. Domicile has everything to do with a person's nationality. If you don't have British nationality, it's bloody difficult to get in here. Murphy may not know that. Iyer does. So this is the level of stupidity that you have here. It's quite true that you can say to the taxman, look, instead of my paying you less in tax, I want to pay you more in tax. You can do that. And that is a matter of choice, but there is always a superior obligation of any fiduciary duty that a woman, maybe not a man, but certainly a woman, a person capable of becoming a mother and a potential karta of a Hindu undivided family, an HUF, there is always a fiduciary duty. And Richard Murphy is telling porkies. He's being very stupid. He says she can also give up the claim to be non-domiciled at any time. Quite false. She cannot give up the claim to be non-domiciled unless she has a genuine and sincere intention to settle here permanently. He's telling lies. Just because she was non-domiciled when she arrived in the UK as a newly married person does not mean she has to keep the status now. So the fact that she's still non-dom is also a choice. This sounds reasonable, but it's not. It is not reasonable because she can have other obligations. And the fact that she has prior obligations can be inferred from other things which she has said. She has said that India does not permit dual citizenship, which suggests a prior obligation to the Indian nation. She has said that she would, she would definitely return to look after her parents in their old age. That's a prior obligation. We don't know, and you can look these up. The fact is that unlike a discretionary trust, the karta of an HUF exists without anything written down, though this can be recognized subsequently by the law. So Murphy, good Indian name, Hindu name, I don't think. What the fuck does this cunt know about Indian accountancy and tax? The answer is zero. What do these guys know about Indian citizenship? What do they know about the Hindu Dharma? The answer is zero. But they can tout their racist and misogynist views in the pages of The Guardian because The Guardian, let's face it, is no better than it ought to be. And what it ought to be is shat upon.